The double bass is the largest member of the string family. It came into existence. It's a hangover from an older family of instruments called the gambas, which came originally from Spain and were introduced into Italy in the 14th century. The shape of these instruments are quite rounded at the corners with elongated F-holes. The violin family, which came into existence in the late 16th century in Italy, really superseded the gambas, and the double bass was the one instrument from the gamba family that continued through. It's got its uses in an enormous variety of music, from folk to jazz to classical, contemporary, rock, rockabilly. One of the great things about being a bass player is you have the opportunity to be in and play a part of a great number of different types of music. In the jazz context, of course, the bass has really been an important historical instrument, really in the entire 20th century. In some respects, replacing the tuba and euphonium from the earlier jazz groups. And in those times, the double bass was generally played with a bow, or arco as we term that, and you'll hear me playing a little bit of that in one of the tunes we're going to do a bit later on. So the bass these days is played both with a bow, arco, and pizzicato with the fingers. It's a four-stringed instrument. We usually amplify the bass depending on the kind of venue that we're playing, but typically these days there are sort of two movements. One is to have very low strings, and where the player has a great deal of facility on the fingerboard, and we use some kind of pickup or microphone. Here I've got a microphone turned into the F-hole. Or to have what we call Ray Brown sort of technique, which are very thick strings a long way off the fingerboard and rely a great deal more on tone and digging into the bass, and a lot less on amplification. Ray Brown is really the figure that we talk about, with the strings very raised and a big driving sound. And I guess Scott LaFaro was one of the premier players of the strings stuck very low, the microphone put into the tailpiece, and a great deal of facility playing on it. Anyone that's familiar with the Scott LaFaro, Bill Evans trio sessions, of course, knows how great a player he was and what an extraordinary pioneer of that type of playing for the jazz bass world he was.
Could you demonstrate pizzicato for us?
Okay, sure. Jazz pizzicato varies a lot from the pizzicato that a lot of classical players play. Classical players are always aiming for a pizzicato which has a definite single sound without a great deal of sustain, and they play a pizzicato in this kind of fashion, drawing the string away from the bass. In jazz, we want a very different sound with a lot of sustain, a lot of smoothness, so it almost sounds like there's sustain from one note to the next. So that's the pizzicato style.
And you also are doing some walking. Would you talk about the whole style of walking bass?
Okay, well, there's a can of worms. Walking bass generally tries to make a sensible chromatic path between the chord changes, and there are a number of ways of doing that: chordally, harmonically, chromatically. But essentially, what we're doing is walking from one chord to another. We're providing a basis so that the soloists and the instrumentalists who are playing above us in pitch generally can have a sound grounding of what the harmony is. So we're not necessarily spelling the harmony out exclusively all the time. We're hinting at or providing a real strong harmonic support for the people playing above us. So we need to weave in and out the chords, either playing them constructively or suggesting them with our line, and at the same time being as interesting as we can in terms of weaving in and out, suggesting other alternative harmonies perhaps, without being, depending on the situation. Of course, some music's you're a lot freer to do that than others, but in some of the things that we'll be doing today, we tend to stay fairly well within the harmonic framework, within the scalar or tonal patterns of the piece that we're playing in.
And could you say do a walking bass for us in just a 1/12 bar chorus?
Okay, sure. We're going to be doing a tune in C, I think. So.
Rob, Professor Nairn, thank you.
Pleasure.